Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Sauce. It is conference championship weekend. Playoffs have been kind to me so far. I am 8-2 against the spread. My two losses were Bills -2.5, Eagles -3. Those are my two losses so far against the spread. The last game of the weekend, I've lost both of them. So hopefully, let's go for a 2-0 sweep. You guys already know who's playing. Obviously, we're going to do the AFC first because that game happens first. Chiefs, Ravens, let's go.
Welcome to the Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
All right, like I said, we got Kansas City on the road in Baltimore here. Ravens are now laying 4 on most sports books. I don't think there's many 3.5s left. Was at 3.5 for most of the week. Total sitting at 44.5. According to the data, action seems to be coming in pretty split on this one. This line was at 3 super early in the week, but like I said, it's pretty much been at 3.5 all week. And as I'm seeing this started a few hours ago. Looks like everyone's bumping this one up to 4. So by the time you're watching this, there might only be 4s available. As far as the total, this number hasn't moved a muscle. Tuesday afternoon was at 44.5. Here we are on Friday night, still seeing 44.5s across the board. Odds makers seem pretty comfortable in their position here. Let's talk injuries, and we'll start with the Chiefs offense. Tooney has been ruled out, the Chiefs left guard. So Kansas City going to be missing their starting left guard in this one. Isaiah Pacheco is listed as questionable. He did finally participate in a practice on Friday, so we'll see. And some good news, Chiefs may have Kadarius Toney back. He's listed as questionable. He's missed the last couple games, I believe. On the defensive side, Chiefs are going to be without Derek Nottie again at defensive tackle. I think he's out for the season. They put him on the IR, so he's out for the season. He got hurt in the Dolphins game. Also, Willie Gay listed as questionable at linebacker, and he missed Friday's practice, so it looks like it's going to be a toss-up on whether or not he plays. On the Baltimore side, I'm sure you've heard great news for the Ravens. Mark Andrews is back at tight end, which is obviously huge. One of the most important pieces of that offense, and he's been out a while now. I'm not sure why this graphic has J.K. Dobbins on it. He's been out since September. Some more good news for Baltimore on the defensive side. Defense should be at full strength also. Marlon Humphrey, who missed last week's game, he's listed as questionable, but participated in a full practice on Friday without limitation. So I'd say all signs point to Marlon Humphrey will be back for this game. Before we get into the numbers, this video is brought to you by Edge Boost. They're the first bet now, play later provider that enables you to double your bet at any sportsbook or DFS site with no interest. They're also sponsoring an NFL playoff pick'em with an exclusive deposit match bonus. Link for that is in the bio of this video. So let's match these two teams up on the field, and we'll start with the Chiefs offense. As we know, the Kansas City pass game really wasn't the same the second half of the season. Through the first 7 games, they were 3rd in EPA per dropback, 5th in success rate per dropback, but the final 9 games of the season back at 22nd and 13th. And then they started off the playoffs with a really questionable passing performance against a Dolphins pass defense that's been really bad on the road. We started questioning whether playoff Mahomes was going to show up. In the Dolphins game, he completed just 56% of his passes, 6.4 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, and 83.6 passer rating. But then last week goes on the road to Buffalo, a pass defense that's been playing great, probably a top 5 pass defense, even with the injuries. And Mahomes was basically perfect. I mean, 17 of 23, 215 yards, 9.3 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a 131.6 passer rating. Now, I know a lot of people are looking at that 215 yards saying, oh, that's not an elite game. He only dropped back to pass 23 times. Yeah, that's an elite game. But we got to be honest here. This matchup against the Ravens, this is probably going to be Mahomes. Not probably. This will be Mahomes' toughest test of the season. On the road in Baltimore against the best pass defense in the NFL on paper. First in DVOA, first in opponent pass rating, first in yards per pass attempt allowed. CJ Stroud was looking like an MVP candidate this year. He looked immaculate in his first career playoff game. Cooked the Browns defense, who, by the way, were 2nd in the NFL in pass defense DVOA behind the Ravens. In that game, he had 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and almost a perfect passer rating. The Baltimore Ravens pass defense had CJ Stroud putting up Bryce Young numbers, 175 yards, 5.3 yards per attempt, and a 72.2 passer rating. And that's been the story all year because this Ravens team has not had an easy schedule. They played a ton of upper tier top 10 quarterbacks. Check this out. So on the season, the Ravens have played Tua, Purdy, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow twice, Matt Stafford, Jared Goff, CJ Stroud twice. That's all this season. In those games, so in their games against elite quarterbacks, those guys combined for just 10 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 5.9 yards per attempt, and a 77.4 passer rating. So the Ravens, not only do they have elite pass defense numbers on the year, but they have elite pass defense numbers against top-tier quarterbacks. Now, there are a couple positive angles for Patrick Mahomes in this matchup. Number one being, this is not a Ravens pass rush that generates consistent pressure on the season. Baltimore's just 19th in pressure rate, 29th in QB hurry rate, 18th in QB hit rate. As we've discussed on this channel several times, Mahomes has some ugly-looking splits as far as when pressured and when given a clean pocket. Amongst 33 qualified quarterbacks, Mahomes, when pressured, he's 30th in interceptions, 20th in completion percentage, and 25th in passer rating. When given a clean pocket, those ranks jump up to 17th, 7th, and 7th. Another positive angle for Patrick Mahomes in this game, he should have some run support, and I think this is the biggest X factor for the Chiefs offense in this matchup. Kansas City's run game, kind of a roller coaster this year, started off the season hot, and then it was terrible for most of the year, seems to be showing up again. In the playoffs so far, they're averaging 146.5 rushing yards per game, 5.1 yards per carry, and they're running the ball in 47.5% of their plays. So the Chiefs have really been leaning on the run game in these playoffs, and it's working. As you can see, those numbers much different from their season average. During the season, they were running the ball in just 39.52% of their snaps. Now, the game against Miami in the ice cold, I'm sure, is skewing those numbers a little bit, but still, the point is the Chiefs have been running the ball in the playoffs. And as I said last week, this Baltimore run defense needs to be questioned. Now, on the season, the numbers don't look terrible. They're 7th in DVOA, but they're 17th in adjusted line yards, 23rd in yards per carry allowed. What we really need to look at is right here. Ravens run defense, weeks 1 through 9, they were 4th in EPA per rush, 7th in success rate per rush, 91.8 rushing yards per game allowed, 3.97 yards per carry allowed. Look at weeks 10 through 18, the second half of the season, 29th, 31st, 129, 4.98. So this Ravens defense really struggling to stop the run the second half of the year. Now, we do have to be fair to Baltimore here. Last week, they completely shut the Texans' run game down. 14 carries, 38 yards, just 2.7 yards per carry. I don't know how much of an accomplishment that is. Texans' run game was pretty brutal this year. 30th in DVOA, 29th in yards per carry. It got slightly better when they switched to Singletary at RB1, but still, this is a bottom 5 rushing attack. As we just covered, Chiefs are averaging over 5 yards per carry in the playoffs. Situational stats on this side of the ball, no edge on third downs. Both the Chiefs offense and the Ravens defense very good on third downs. Ravens defense definitely an edge in the red zone though. Chiefs offense just 19th in the red zone. Overall, my opinion on this side of the ball, I kind of like the Chiefs to move the chains here. I think the run game's going to be there against the Ravens run defense that, like I said, I think is very overvalued. And look, on paper, Patrick Mahomes should struggle in this game. I mean, it's the number 1 pass defense. They run a lot of man coverage. Well, they switch it up, but I'm sure they'll dial up man coverage now that Marlon Humphrey's back. Mahomes has struggled with man coverage, but I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. It's almost like I don't care what defense is out there. He's going to make plays. We've seen him do it. So I hate that kind of reasoning, but I can't see a world where Patrick Mahomes is completely shut down in a playoff game. Now let's flip it over to the other side of the ball. We'll start with the Chiefs pass defense, and as we know, this is an elite unit. It's been elite all year. They're 5th in DVOA, 6th in passer rating allowed, 2nd in yards per pass attempt allowed. And they've come up big so far in the playoffs. They started off against 2 elite passing offenses in Miami and Buffalo. Those 2 quarterbacks combined for just 192 yards per game, 4.9 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and just a 75 average passer rating. Now the Dolphins game, we need to put a little bit of an asterisk there. It was in sub-zero temperatures, but still, Chiefs pass defense has shown up in the playoffs. Now, we do have to take a look at the home away splits here because the Chiefs pass defense hasn't been nearly as good on the road. You can see at home at Arrowhead, they're 4th in passer rating allowed, 1st in sack rate, tied for 4th in interceptions per game, 2nd in completion percentage allowed, but on the road, 14th, 15th, 32nd, 13th. But that being said, I mean, we just saw them go on the road in Buffalo, and the pass defense played pretty well. So how do they match up against Lamar Jackson? Well, as we've discussed many times, Lamar Jackson is basically immune to pressure. He's absolutely unreal under pressure. 1st in yards per attempt, 1st in passer grade, 1st in big time throw percentage, 5th in turnover worthy play rate, and 4th in passer rating when pressured this season. The reason those numbers are so significant, as we know, the Chiefs pass rush is a very important part of their defense and has been over the last 5 years, or 5 years, I should say. On the season, they're 7th in pressure rate, 5th in QB hit rate, 1st in adjusted sack rate. So that's a good sign for Lamar. He's matched up against a defense that uses pressure to force bad throws, bad decisions. Lamar Jackson's been great under pressure this year. Now, we know from years of watching Steve Spagnuolo that we're going to see all kinds of blitz packages from the Chiefs defense, especially on third downs. So why don't we take a look at Lamar Jackson's numbers when blitzed? Really no splits here. I mean, blitz, not blitz, these numbers pretty much look the same. The only major difference in these numbers is the pressure to sack rate. You can see when blitz, he's just 24th in pressure to sack rate. So Chiefs should have some opportunities in their blitz packages to get Lamar to the ground here. Now, last week might have been the perfect preparation for Lamar Jackson because, as we talked about, Houston doesn't blitz at all. They blitz on just 20% of their defensive snaps. So you might be thinking, how is that perfect preparation? Chiefs blitz all the time. It's because DeMeco Ryans completely changed his defense up. They blitzed on 69% of Lamar's dropbacks last week. That's an insane blitz rate. So DeMeco Ryans came out blitz heavy, pretty similar to what we expect to see from Steve Spagnuolo this week. How did Lamar handle it? When blitzed against the Texans, completed over 70% of his passes, 6.9 yards per attempt, one touchdown, no picks, and a 109 passer rating. Now, as a whole, is the Houston Texans pass defense as good as the Chiefs pass defense? No, of course not. But from week 10 on through the wild card round, Houston's pass defense was 6th in EPA per play and 9th in EPA per dropback. So the Texans were playing good defense against the pass entering that game. It wasn't just a scrub defense. So on paper, it looks like a pretty good matchup for Lamar Jackson. Now let's get to the Ravens run game. And this is where, if you're betting Baltimore, this is where you're looking right here. We'll start with the Chiefs defense against the run. As we know, this is the weakness of Kansas City's defense. I mean, it has been for multiple years now. On the season, they're 27th in DVOA, 25th in adjusted line yards, 25th in yards per carry. This is a bad run defense. And we saw it last week. I mean, the Chiefs were able to keep Josh Allen from killing him through the air. But look at these numbers on the ground, man. 39 carries, 182 yards rushing, 4.7 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns. And more notably, Josh Allen was ripping them up with his legs. 12 carries, 72 yards. That's 6 yards per carry. That's pretty terrifying entering a matchup against, maybe the best dual threat quarterback we've ever seen in Lamar Jackson. I will say, though, that entering that Buffalo game, and I mentioned this last week, the Chiefs had done a really good job against dual threat quarterbacks this year through 5 games against Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson twice, and Justin Fields. They're allowing just 3.75 yards per carry to quarterbacks in those games. So, yeah, Josh Allen ran all over the Chiefs last week, but as a whole, the Chiefs have been pretty good in limiting mobile quarterbacks this year. That being said, let's look at the Ravens rushing offense, and as I'm sure you know, this is one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. 1st in DVOA, 6th in adjusted line yards, 3rd in yards per carry. I mean, they've been elite all year. They just saw the Houston Texans run defense last year, who are 2nd in DVOA, 2nd in adjusted line yards, 2nd in yards per carry. Houston's been elite against the run all year, and the Ravens made it look easy, man. 42 carries, 229 yards rushing, 5.5 yards per carry. Lamar Jackson himself had 11 carries for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, they ran all over Houston. Situational stats on this side of the ball, pretty much a wash here. Chiefs defense and Ravens offense, both very good on third downs, both very good in the red zone. Got an underdog pick 'em here. It's a 3-pick, so it pays out 6 times. I'm going with Lamar Jackson lower than 210.5 pass yards. Isaiah Pacheco higher than 62.5 rush yards. I'm assuming he's going to play. Obviously, if he doesn't play, I'll take Edwards-Helaire higher instead. Justin Tucker higher than 1.5 field goals made. Chiefs defense is good in the red zone. That's why I rock with that. Like I said, it's a 3-pick, so it pays out 6 times. If you don't have an Underdog fantasy account, it's available in any state highlighted in this map. So if you're in one of these states highlighted in yellow, head over to the website, or you can download the app Underdog Fantasy. When you make your account, make sure you use the promo code BET, B-E-T. That'll get you a $100 deposit bonus match. So if you deposit $100, they will give you a free $100 to play with. As far as what I'm betting in this game, well, for starters, on paper, the Ravens should be laying 6. So if you're like, wow, how are they laying 4? They should be laying even more. Baltimore's healthier based on the production we've seen on the field. I mean, Baltimore's been elite. The Chiefs have struggled through a lot of the second half of the year. On paper, the Ravens defense should be a nightmare for Mahomes. On paper, the Chiefs cannot stop Baltimore's run game, but these playoff games are not played on paper. Bills -2.5 was the play on paper last week. Chiefs won that game outright. So as far as when I'm betting, this absolutely sucks, but there's just no way I can lay 4 points to Patrick Mahomes here. I hope I lose. I hope I lose this bet. Actually, you know what I want? I want the Ravens to win by a field. You know what? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. So Baltimore's going to be up 28-20, and the Chiefs are going to score a touchdown late and not get the 2-point conversion. Final score, 28-26 Ravens. Ravens win, Chiefs cover. So give me Chiefs +4 and the over at 44.5. If you want our top bets for all sports parlays of the day, or you want to join the Discord, head over to KyleKirms.com. The information is right there on the homepage. Conference championship Sunday. Season's coming to a close. Playoffs have been good to us. Hopefully that keeps up. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.